Morning, my name's John with the Pine Tree. I have the great pleasure of being here in the Arnold Library with Supervisor Marita Calloway.
Good morning, John.
Now, we've had quite a few chats in this corner, haven't we?
Yes, we have. This is a wonderful. It's the center of Arnold.
And from the beginning of this, we want to say is Marita has been very gracious to us at the Pine Tree. She helped us when we were first getting started. It was just before your run last time, about 4 years ago. And she was very gracious in introducing us where we needed to be introduced. And I would say that in no small measure, the success we've had as far as audience and stuff, especially getting our foot in the door, was thanks to Marita. And we want to say thank you.
Oh, you've been a welcome addition to the Ebbets Pass corridor.
And another one thing we want to say is that from the outside looking in, and especially in local politics, I think is your supervisors' positions are more than full time. I mean, you guys work in. I think your community owes you a debt of gratitude. That I think we've always joked is your phone will ring. All kinds of things for you're expected to be able to take care of everything, and I think that's not always an enviable task. And I think, regardless of how some may feel politically, I think they owe you a debt of gratitude for being willing to serve.
I enjoy it. I'm challenged by it.
Mm-hmm.
I probably read the U.S. Constitution several times because of it.
Mm-hmm.
I've read Supreme Court decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I've read the California Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And I've listened to whatever people tell me in the grocery store.
Right.
Or in the Arnold Library
Right.
when I have office hours.
Mm-hmm.
So,
for people who don't follow it closely, tell us a little bit about you. I mean, the who, what, when, where, and why. I mean, I guess.
who, what, when, where? I've lived in Calaveras, up here in Ebbets Pass for 23 years. I moved here as the PG&E manager for the Mother Lode, Amador, Calaveras, and Bear Valley, my small part of Alpine. And I raised my daughter here from first grade through high school.
Mm-hmm.
And recently I got a Facebook message about teachers and all the layoffs and what teachers were important. I have to tell you, the teachers in Calaveras helped me raise my kid.
I understand.
Michelson, Avery, Bret Harte High School. Anyway, so I went from the ratepayers to the taxpayers, and it's a challenge, and I love it. And I'll get a report card June 8th, and we'll see what happens. Most of what I do, and I believe the other board members, I'd say probably 85–90% are individual issues.
Requests from constituents.
I had a rumor.
Mm-hmm.
Love rumors.
Mm-hmm.
Rumor
There's
that
no rumors in Calaveras County, is there? Come on.
Absolutely not. Rumor that this person was going to be changing the use of a commercial site,
Mm-hmm.
and he was going to have to pay $7,000 to do it. And I said, there's something wrong with this picture. So I went to see him, asked what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
what happened, what were the circumstances. He told me. I checked it out. It was probably miscommunication of something. He owes and has to pay nothing.
Nice.
So we went
Yeah.
from 7,000 to 0.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the challenges. I got a question on Assembly Bill 811 yesterday. I got a question on a project up in Big Trees
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be on the agenda Tuesday. So it's all kinds of small things. Barking dogs, potholes, roads, land use issues.
Now, you're supervisor chairing them this year, correct?
Yes,
I am the chair. Is this the third, fourth, or was this
Probably the fourth time
fourth
I've been
time?
chair.
Now, she likes being chair. She really
I do.
does.
I think I'm better than my male colleagues.
That way she gets to control the room a little better. Huh?
Yeah, and I don't use the gavel.
Got it. This is, and I guess what people is, it's going to be another tough budget cycle.
Yes.
It looks like the recommendation from you guys was another 17.5%, or at least
And that's a starting
the directive
point.
to
That's a starting point. Last year, I proposed that you can't, one size isn't gonna fit all for
Right.
the departments.
Yeah.
Some departments might take 17, some might take 10.
Mm-hmm.
The board has to set priority, and the budget needs to be set by priority. And what are the priorities for the county?
Right.
But the department heads all want a base on which to start. So we know it's going to be difficult, so we said 17.5%. Come in with that. That can be massaged. If you go to the budget principles
Mhm.
of the board established, public safety is high priority.
Right.
It has the largest part
Right.
of the budget. The public safety, though, isn't just the officers on the street.
Right.
I mean, it's the jail, it's the district attorney, it's probation, it's the public defender. It's the compendium of services of public safety.
And that has to be a hard balance for you guys, because if, for the county employees, each job is important to them vitally, but as far as if you're looking from the constituents looking at the county, their priorities are probably a little different than the people that actually are in the building. I mean, they would probably rank public safety and stuff higher than some of the other
Correct.
services. So, I mean, that's not an easy chore for you guys to balance needs or of the different departments and stuff.
Well, that's one of the most critical things we do.
Yeah.
Bar none.
Right.
Budget and land use decisions.
Yes.
I don't care what county you go to, those are the key areas that
Mhm.
boards of supervisors and probably city councils deal with.
No, I think the county deserves some praise. I mean, I think after a bumpy 2 or 3 years, things seem to be settling down pretty
wonderful.
well as far as the the department's functioning.
We have some
yes.
wonderful department heads
Mhm.
in our land use area. We call them the Joint Chiefs.
Mhm.
They meet at least monthly, so to iron out issues that could be done differently in Department
Right.
A than Department B,
Right.
and they're working through those. I think the public is pleased, at least those developers, contractors, realtors, just people on the street, this
Mhm.
business owner I talked to, have been really pleased with the service they're receiving. And that's the other issue. We're going to have to decide what services
Right.
we can provide, what programs might have to
Mhm.
go. Some are fee-based. The land use departments are fee-based, not general fund supported.
Right.
So I can go on and on about the budget, but that's sort of the most boring
Of
for the
course.
public.
No, I guess one of the things is coming up in this cycle. It's obviously going to come up in some of the candidates' nights and things. Is fiscal stuff because we're in some challenging economic times, and it can be debated whether we're at the bottom or we're already starting to head back up or whatever. But I mean, on a local level, what can you guys do to actually improve the economic vitality of especially the district, but the county as a whole?
One, I shop local.
Okay.
It's easy. It's like saying Arnold's dying and it's Marita's fault.
Right.
Arnold's dying and so's Murphy's and so's Napa and so's Tuolumne and Amador.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make it any easier for those people who live and work here.
Right.
One way that we can do it is, we discussed it at board when we had our update on the budget,
Mm-hmm.
is that I'm not supporting at this time, nor is at least one other supervisor, any increase in fees.
Right.
So, and we had set up a process where we would look at fees separate from the budget,
Mhm.
that we do not use fees to subsidize the income to the county's budget. I mean, if there's no business, there's no business, and
Right.
those departments have had to lay people off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last year there were, what with some retirements not filling jobs, almost 80 positions are gone. And we're going to be looking at similar
Similar
things
numbers again.
this year.
Yeah.
We've used some stimulus money
Mm-hmm.
to keep some of the road department
Mhm.
employed. We've received $1.5 million in stimulus for the road department. We've applied for some appropriations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody's grabbing for for the same dollars. And
Right.
I think as a county, we've done well. The sheriff's office, Calaveras, Alpine have received funds for the microwave
Yeah.
towers
Yeah.
for the upper 4 corridor, which of course, Mr. Hamilton, that leads into your favorite topic of broadband.
Yes, and I think
The one that you've been nibbling at since you've been here.
well, I think one of the good things is for a rural county, Calaveras. I mean, obviously we have a lot of improvements but we're making progress that way, right?
We're making progress. Calaveras and Alpine,
Mhm.
we're going in on a project for stimulus funds for what's called the middle mile, and
Right.
you could probably even describe it better than I. Well, Amador and Tuolumne have piggybacked, and we're applying for $13 million
Mhm.
to put in a backbone system on Highway 4, 49, 88, and 108,
Mhm.
and 49, anyway,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
highways, so that the fiber optics and the
Mhm.
wireless can be done, and then the private providers can then finger out to the
Right.
respective communities.
Right.
They couldn't afford to do it without the
Right.
backbone.
Because that has been one of the problems, if there just wasn't enough pipe, so to speak,
Right.
here, as far as
Correct.
to the region. Yeah.
And in Heron's past, there's a lot of people who would stay and working if they could work on
Mhm.
from home with a higher speed than
Mhm.
dial-up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the microwave towers will help with cell service. I mean, I know you live on your cell. I hardly use it because even between San Andreas and Angels, which is about the straightest road in Calaveras, I
Yeah.
lose service
You'll
3
drop it.
times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that should make you happy.
Oh yeah, no, it
And-
does. I think and I think in the loop on that is I think one of the nice things about increased broadband usage for rural counties is it levels the playing field.
Yes.
Levels the playing field that we can compete for the class of jobs and things like that that goes out.
I was
So.
at a Greater Arnold Business Association function, and Jacques Pyle, who
Mhm.
does a web-based,
Yeah.
he gave a presentation about marketing your business and
Mhm.
the different mediums you use, and the importance of having high speed.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
So-
almost, and in a weird way now, it's almost as important as any of our other utilities. In some ways, if you look to do surveys, some people would rather do without electricity than broadband, because there's some of that's kind of an odd concept because you kind of need both.
Well,
I'd rather
you
live
know.
on a generator and have electricity than
You know,
yeah.
as a former manager for a utility, I don't want to answer that.
Okay, I understand.
An electric utility.
Now, going down the stretch here in the campaign, it's just really starting in earnest now. What are the points that you would like for constituents to remember the next few months? I mean, I know there's probably some issues come out. I think what are the core issues that you'd like to leave people with?
Oh, that's a good question. I strongly believe that the budget's important.
Mm-hmm.
I think that focusing on what services we can provide
Right.
and making sure that the supervisors, well, particularly me and Ebbets Path, are really listening to what is it that they want, what is it that
Right.
they would be willing to do without.
Mhm.
I do not want to get into an argument this year, like do we protect the library
Right.
and
Right.
lay off a cop, or
Right.
close the library and keep a cop. Those are all priorities that we have to balance.
I know.
The general plan
And not always
is-
easily, huh? I mean, that's not
no,
always.
it's
yeah.
not. I mean, when you look at the volunteerism,
Mhm.
the library, the sheriff's office, and animal services are hugely dependent on
Right.
volunteers.
Right.
We have the general plan. That's going to be a critical issue moving this coming year.
Yeah.
The jail. We finally have what's called the red team.
Mm-hmm.
The governor put pressure on the state agencies So we have a team, all the 11 counties that are planning on building jails have a team that are going to be working with them to move the project forward. We'll still have a moment of truth as a board.
Operationally, for the operational expenses? And that
No,
kind of-
not operational,
okay.
just construction.
Okay.
So I'm encouraging the residents of Ebbets Pass to think, what is it you want? What's important? For most of them,
Mhm.
it's having the potholes filled
Mhm.
and having their roads done and having me available, or
Right.
me, hopefully,
Right.
to respond to individual issues.
I guess a question on, this year, nationally, politically, there's been a whole movement, especially because the economic times of, well, for lack of a better term, is
Anti-incumbent?
throw the bums out.
Throw the bums out.
But I guess, conversely to that, as an incumbent, what do you think that, as far as learning curves and value of being an incumbent? Because you basically, I guess there's a counterbalance to that, because I think they've seen something that, in some instances, in some areas, there's been a dark side to term limits and that type of stuff as well. I know this is not a term limit issue, but I think what's the value of incumbency? I guess what would, for lack of a better way to phrase that?
I bring an experience in an extremely difficult time. There is the understanding of the interrelationships of departments, of other agencies. I believe I have a full understanding of what most of the residents in Ebbets Pass want. I have been able to make the difficult decisions that needed to be made, and this is going to be a time that you're going to need someone that can make those very difficult decisions. I believe I have the skill set to do that. I'm very responsive to the residents of Ebbets Pass, and I'm acutely aware that incumbency is not a popular thing, but I'd like to think that I've had the track record to show that I can deal with the issues as they come up, most of them individual issues, and for the balance would be what's best for Calaveras County. I work well with the departments. I work well with the agencies that I'm involved with. I have a close working relationship with the U.S. Forest Service here, and we've dealt with some critical, sensitive issues.
Right.
We still are.
Yeah.
I've gotten Caltrans to do snow plowing for pullouts for the little bergs along the upper 4 corridor where we don't plow.
We've heard several high marks from people, as far as, especially on that type of, even some of the upper Ebbets Pass communities, so to
The
speak.
upper Ebbets.
The sky highs and the stuff. We've heard some high marks.
Yeah, we have a light at Avery Sheep Ranch Road, and it was a constituent's idea. I'm not in it. It's not a me. It's a we. And the turn lane on Country Club and 4, the constituent said, "Marita, why don't we have a turn lane?" I said, "I don't know. Why not? Let's look into it."
Right.
It was his idea, and I happened to help make it happen. The street light at Avery, and I'm on a dark sky ordinance.
I
I'm
understand.
not gonna, but I could understand why we need a street light there. It was a constituent in Marita. I'd sure like to have one. So we started, it took us 3 years, but we
Good.
got a street light.
Right.
And at Avery Hotel Road.
There we go.
So that's a wrap. I think people really don't want government unless they need it.
Right.
And
is-
so that's, it's like, well, people don't come to the meetings. They should. Why? That's why I'm elected. If they're interested, that boardroom's packed.
As it has, on issues.
Yeah.
But then you do have your returning customers that keep showing up at board meetings, right?
Yes, they're colorful, and sometimes you have to, when you have people that, come every
Yeah.
week or every
Yeah.
other week. You need to really listen to what they say, because sometimes in that 5 minutes that they have, there's sometimes some really good information and
Mhm.
ideas that come out of it.
Mhm.
And you can't just turn them off.
Right, right. And I think if for those of you who haven't watched it either on our site or on the local cable channel, once a year or so, I would suggest you go sit in a meeting, because I think it truly is getting a pulse of the county. And an interesting thing, I think, in a lot of larger counties, the supervisors and everything else, in some ways there's a dilution factor. You know, that people don't, you know, they're not as intensely interested in the, but in Calaveras County, it's the show.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday morning, that's the show.
It is the show. And that is usually the most exciting part of the meeting, is that
Right.
open mic
Oh
time.
yeah. Well, anyway, anything you'd like to add? Anything on that? I mean, is any parting words on this thing, or?
I'm very proud and honored to be the supervisor for the Ebbets Pass corridor. And as I've always said, it's not a me issue, it's a we issue. I know there are people who have different views. We have a diverse philosophical view in Ebbets Pass, and I find that healthy. And I think it's up to me to be able to balance those diversities. And I believe I've done a good job for Ebbets Pass, and I'd like to continue doing it for the next 4 years.
Thanks for spending a few minutes
Thank
with
you,
us.
John, for the pleasure.